Take a standard piece of paper and fold it in half. If you could fold it just 14 times, it would stand about as tall as an average human. But if you could fold it 42 times, the thickness would reach the moon. Our brains aren't naturally equipped to visualize that scale. We evolved to think in linear steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. So imagining numbers that multiply upon themselves over and over feels counterintuitive. This creates a common cognitive trap called the linear illusion. It's the assumption that building wealth depends almost entirely on high executive salaries, large inheritances, or sudden windfalls. The danger is that this illusion leads many people to delay investing. They look at a small contribution, like $50 a month, and assume it's too insignificant to impact their financial future. When the future impact of that math is invisible to the eye, it becomes much harder to justify the discipline needed to start today. But staying on the sidelines carries its own risk. There is a hidden economic force that actively reduces the value of cash sitting idle in a savings account. This is the math of the leaking bucket. If average inflation runs at 6%, but your bank account only pays 3.5%, you're losing about 2.5% of your purchasing power every year. Because of this steady erosion, avoiding the market entirely often guarantees a loss of wealth over a lifetime. Breaking even requires a move away from simple savings and into assets capable of exponential growth. Compounding is the process of earning returns on both your original deposit and the returns those deposits have already generated. Day to day, this process feels slow. A 3-month snapshot of a major stock often looks stagnant, offering very little visual evidence that your wealth is actually growing. However, over a decade, those same daily fluctuations settle into a clear trend. In some cases, that decade of holding can generate returns nearing 1,000%. To estimate how long this takes without a spreadsheet, investors use the rule of 72. By dividing the number 72 by your expected annual return, you find the doubling time. With an 8% return, for example, your money takes exactly 9 years to double. This suggests that long-term investment results rely less on stock-picking genius than on the length of time an asset is left undisturbed to double. To see how time outweighs capital, we can look at 2 investors, Michelle and Matt. Michelle starts at age 22, investing $250 a month. After 10 years, she stops entirely. She has spent $30,000 out of pocket. Matt waits until age 32 to start. He invests the same $250 every month, but he keeps it up for 35 years. He spends $90,000 out of pocket. By retirement, Michelle's nest egg reaches $509,000, while Matt, who spent 3 times as much of his own money, ends up with $375,000. The reinvested interest is the wet snow, but the most important factor is the length of the hill. The more rotations, the more mass. Because the largest growth occurs at the end of the timeline, the earliest investor holds a mathematical advantage that capital alone can rarely overcome. Benjamin Franklin demonstrated this with a trust fund he established for the cities of Boston and Philadelphia. By leaving a gift of $9,000 undisturbed for 2 centuries, Franklin allowed the principal to double repeatedly until the balance grew into millions. Most of us don't have 2 centuries, but even within a standard human lifespan, we have to account for the cost of delay. Procrastinating doesn't just mean missing out on 5 years of small early gains. Because compounding is exponential, the most significant growth happens at the end of the timeline. A 5-year delay effectively cuts off the steepest climbing rate. Establishing a small, early habit turns the passage of time into a financial asset, letting the long hill do the heavy lifting.